Everyone around you seemed to know exactly what they were doing. They picked careers, built relationships, and accumulated the milestones of a well-built life with a confidence that looked effortless. And then there is you, watching years pass, feeling a quiet certainty that their path is not yours. You hesitate, you wander, you start things and stop them. You cannot find your own way, yet you cannot silence the voice underneath all that wandering saying, I am not behind, I am just not ready yet. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung spent decades studying the human mind, and he made an observation that most people completely overlook. Not all human beings are designed to succeed early, and they certainly are not meant to move in straight lines. Some personalities are built for something else entirely. They are built for a process Jung called individuation, a life that spirals inward, demanding deep psychological structure, long before it ever expands outward into the world. If you feel hopelessly out of sync with your peers, you are not failing. You are operating on an entirely different, unacknowledged schedule, a schedule designed specifically for depth over speed. Most people build their identity the fast way. They absorb the world around them, copying the values, goals, and timelines of society to form an outer shell. The rare personality works differently. They actively reject those external markers. For this type of mind, early adaptation is almost impossible. Their inner world is unusually vivid. Thoughts, emotions, and intuitions collide with an intensity most people never experience. When the unconscious is this active, the inner world is much louder than the outer one, and accepting a false life becomes unbearable. So you delay choices that other people make easily. You hold off on locking in a career path, a relationship, or a fixed identity. From the outside, this looks like confusion. From the inside, it feels like avoiding suffocation. You recognize, even before having the words to articulate it, that becoming what everyone else needs requires abandoning something you cannot afford to lose. This hesitation is your psyche protecting the self that is still forming. Jung warned against forcing this specific personality into a premature identity. It does not produce success, it produces fracture. Living life in the wrong shape eventually cracks at the seams. Think of human development like two distinct growth patterns. In your 20s, the contrast between these two paths becomes deeply painful. One path shoots up instantly, focusing entirely on surface-level height. The other builds downward, entirely out of sight. You watch your peers advancing. They get promotions, they get married, they develop visible social confidence. That visible momentum makes you feel entirely stuck, moving from path to path without landing, looking like someone who has simply failed to launch. But Jung would say your psyche was doing something invisible. While others were building social structures, you were building psychological structure. You were unconsciously asking questions most people do not reach until midlife. Who am I actually? What beliefs are genuinely mine? And what was handed to me? These questions slow you down, but they save you later. Jung observed that many people who succeed early eventually collapse inwardly. They hit a midlife crisis, plagued by a hollow feeling behind everything they achieved, because the life they built relied on borrowed foundations. The rare personality pays a different price, and they pay it early. Jung called it the burden of consciousness. From a young age, you see the gap between what people say and what they mean. You see the emptiness inside the things everyone else is chasing, and that awareness creates a structural, profound loneliness. Enduring that isolation, the feeling of not fitting where everyone else seems to fit, is exactly what forces you to look inward. It is the required cost of building a self-authored foundation that will hold up against the weight of the rest of your life. Then, somewhere in your mid-30s, something settles. The chronic anxiety and endless comparison that you stopped even registering as anxiety are quietly replaced by profound clarity and self-trust. You realize participation in the usual rat race is complicated when you see through the illusions other people rely on to function. You stop asking how to compete in a game you do not respect. You stop performing enthusiasm for a life that feels hollow, and you simply step off the track. Because this new self was built through years of internal labor, it has a weight that borrowed identities do not. Your decisions become precise, made from alignment rather than anxiety. Your presence reorganizes rooms without effort. It is not conventional confidence, it is a durable coherence. This emergence does not arrive with the loud fanfare that early success announces itself with, and because it expresses the actual person rather than wearing them out, it does not rot from the inside. Jung believed this is when you finally enter life, not as someone trying to figure out where you fit, but as someone who has stopped needing to fit anywhere in particular. You get to feel the absolute certainty that your life belongs entirely to you. Every wandering year was preparation rather than waste. The deepest success a human being can achieve is not arriving first. It is surviving the journey long enough to strip away all external expectations, refusing to sacrifice depth for speed, until only the genuine self remains.